Welcome to Larry's Library. This week we are looking at Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale's wonderful Hulk Gray, and I've got it in the great big beautiful gallery edition. So this one is 168 pages. The MSRP on it is $50, and as I always say, like a broken record, don't pay that. Don't be a chump. Buy it from a nice, decent online discounter, like my favorite, InStockTrades.com. You can get it there as of the time of this shooting for $31. It is still in stock. So as I said at the beginning, this one is written by Jeph Loeb, and it has the wonderful art of the late, great Tim Sale, who we lost tragically in 2022. But his work lives on, and it's so nice to see it in this great big oversized format that's very close to the original size it was drawn at. So that's the attraction I have for this format, because the bigger I can get great art like this, hey, the happier I'm going to be. So this collects the entire 6-issue miniseries that came out originally in 2003 in comic form. Now, this was a double dip for me, because while I didn't have the original singles, I did have it in a rinky-dink little standard size hardcover that Marvel put out a few years back. And that's the format the only format I ever had it in. So it was really great to get it upsized. So of course, like all the galleries I own, I have never had a bit of problem with the bill on them. They're always nice quality, no problems whatsoever. Lays right open for easy reading and easy scanning, although it doesn't fit on the platen of my flatbed in its entirety. So these are cropped, of course, versions of the full pages. But I'll run some B-roll where I compare the standard size hardcover to this monster. And it is really something. Now, I already covered what you get when you go to the gallery edition format pretty extensively when I compared various sizes to this in my gallery edition tour video. So if you haven't seen that, I will link it up above. And so I wasn't going to spend a lot of time comparing the sizes, but I figured, well, since this happens to be a work that I own in both standard and now in gallery, I thought I'd go ahead and throw a little bit of that in there with the B-roll, with my regular B-roll, so you can take a look at that. It's comical to see the difference. Comical and wonderful. So this is part of the celebrated, dare I say legendary, Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale collaborations where they did superhero colors. We had Spider-Man blue, we had Daredevil yellow, and a few others, and now we have Hulk Gray getting the gallery edition treatment, and I am so there for it. I reread this in the gallery format, and I loved it. Loved it just as much now as when I first read it, and I think this one will stand up to repeated readings pretty easily. And I'm not a person that typically rereads a lot of things. So what is this, you're wondering? What is Hulk Gray? Well, when the Hulk first came out, the first, I think, 6 issues of the original run, he was gray. And it's debated why he was gray, whether that was a coloring error or a choice, but this was eventually corrected to the familiar green that we know and love today. But he was gray for a little while. And this one goes back in time, and Jeph Loeb deftly inserts details to the origin without actually changing the origin from what we already know. So you might call this a retcon, but it's a very clever way to do a retcon where things are told from a different perspective than you had in the original story, and details are filled in, and you have some surprises, some things that you didn't know happened. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's just very well done. And of course, like all of the Jeph Loeb Colors series, it's a super emotional tale, and it's great. Most of these in the Spider-Man blue and Daredevil yellow are in the form of like a love story, love letters to women that they've lost. Well, this one is a little bit different. This one retells the Hulk origin, but mostly with a device where Bruce Banner is talking to his therapist, Doc Samson. His green-haired therapist for, well, he has green hair for reasons that we won't go into here, and it's not important to the story, but if you don't know Doc Samson, look that up. That's a whole other thing that's pretty interesting in and of itself. Doc Samson is, like I said, he's having a therapy session with Bruce Banner, and Bruce tells him lots of details that we didn't know about those first few days when the Hulk was born. you get more of that really sharp and smart dialogue that Jeph Loeb is sort of known for, or at least to me he is anyway. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I love his dialogue, and you get more of that through here, and it's wonderful. I will run, like I said, cropped versions of these giant pages in the form of these 4K scans, and I hope you guys enjoy that. I love it. But page 73 to 74, I've got noted here. That first Hulk smash, when he first says Hulk smash, when the Hulk busts Rick out of that holding cell, where General Ross had just actually physically abused him, had actually slapped him, which I don't think that had been told before Hulk Gray. Not sure. I don't recall that ever happening. I know he berated him all the time, and he yelled and screamed at him, and he threw him in his cell, but here he actually slaps him. And anyway, so when the Hulk busts through that wall and rescues Rick, and he says Hulk smash, it is so satisfying. Another thing I noted was, take a look at the look on the Hulk's face when Betty is upset with him for hurting her dad, General Ross. It's masterful. It really is. Take a look at this. This is page 75 from the gallery edition. This is some masterful comic book storytelling is what you get with Tim Sale's art and with Jeph Loeb scripting. It's just, it's one of those great chemistries, one of those great teams that, you know, I put them up there with Stan and Jack in some ways, and certainly Chris Claremont, John Byrne. I think about in more modern stuff, I think about Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I know you guys get tired of hearing about Brubaker and Sean Phillips because, you know, but I can't help it. Anyway, I put Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale in those creative teams of all time. It just works so well. Another thing we get here is we get a first glimpse of Tim Sale's version of the original clunkier Iron Man armor. It's really something, and it highlights, it really draws attention to the great loss we got with losing Tim Sale when we did, because in the intro to this, Jeph Loeb talks about they were going to do a Iron Man Gold in this color series, and they never got to do it. But this is kind of a little taste of what that could have been had we got Iron Man Gold. So this sort of contradicts and retcons, you know, when did the Hulk first meet Iron Man? Because in the conventional lore, in the Avengers books, we learned that didn't happen till much later. It wasn't in these first 4 to 6 days of the Hulk's birth, if you want to call it birth. But here we learn that it's retcon. We learn that they actually met much earlier than that, and it's shown in here, that battle, and it was kept a secret for various reasons. One, I don't think Ross was authorized to send Tony Stark after him like that. And Iron Man, I think Tony Stark was embarrassed that the Hulk kicked his ass as hard as he did. And he really kicks his ass. He's stuck in that armor. I don't want to give too much away, but it's pretty cool. It really is. So you've got this high emotion and the drama between the Hulk and Betty, and how tender he is with her, you know, when they're alone, but how she's just completely terrified of him at first, but you also see this strong will that Betty exhibited all throughout, you know, the comic books, and especially as she got a little older, she got to be just this powerful, confident woman on her own. But here at the beginning, she's deathly afraid of him, but she still stands right up to him and defies him. And I think that makes him like her even more. But of course, Banner was already in love with her, and now you get to see the Hulk actually kind of fall in love with her too. And it's great. You get to see the Hulk, he accidentally hurts her, which I won't give away the details, and then he tries to bandage her up, and he goes and finds a first aid kit in a gas station somewhere, which of course he rips the wall apart to get in there, and he gets this first aid kit, and he tries with his huge hands, which are bigger than her face, to put the bandages on the cut she's got on her head, over near her eye. And it's comical because she's got so much crammed on there, and she later rips it off and fixes it herself. But yeah, it's just a really well done scene. And another one of those moments that didn't happen in the actual comic book, the original comic book, where the origin was told. But here we're getting more detail. And we're getting a perspective of Bruce Banner years later talking to Doc Samson in that therapy session. It's a great plot device, and it works really good here. And the big reveal here, though, is we kind of learn, which a little bit spoilery, but a lot of you have already read this probably, but you never had it in a really great format like this. We learn along with Doc Samson that Betty seemed to love the Hulk, or she grows to love the Hulk anyway, because she sort of she sees this sort of monstrous persona and she identifies with it because her father, General Ross, he's a bit of a monster himself. He was mean to his mother, maybe abusive. I don't know if he was physically abusive, but he was certainly mentally abusive to her, and he kind of continued that on with Betty. And so it's definitely a bittersweet revelation that her problems with her father affected her relationship with Banner and the Hulk by extension. Or at least Bruce had thought that, and he conveys that to Doc Samson. And it's up to you, the reader, to see if you agree with that or not. Well, obviously, this is 10/10 for me. I have nothing bad to say about it. I loved it, and I'm glad to have it in, for me, what is the definitive comic book format for collecting a great work like this. So yeah, 10 out of 10. And there is some nice sketch galleries and whatnot in the back with notes from Jeph Loeb and from Tim Sale about how they went about to make this great story. So yeah, there's a lot of good black and white sketches and stuff back there you want to check out and read all those notes. It is fascinating, and I highly recommend you pick this gallery edition up, especially if you've never read this. But even if you have and you're already a fan, get this one. It's awesome. So big thumbs up for me, 10 out of 10. Hope you liked this. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.